got Amy Bishop, got Reverend Pat Kim. You got everything here. But even if we didn't have everything, it would be okay, right? Because we're not attached. And interesting, the last day here, moving to a new place, we can get a little attached to things and not be too comfortable with change sometimes. So my talk is non-attachment, the real secret to manifestation. And I've got some, oh, there we go. Here's my slides. So I'm going to start with a joke though. So there's these three guys out for a game of golf on a Sunday afternoon. First guy steps up to the tee, and he's really serious about his golf game. You've probably heard of him. His name is Moses. So Moses comes up, he steps up to the tee, and he's really concentrating, really focused. He takes a good full swing. The ball's heading out there toward the green, but it's going to fall short. And it's going to fall just before this trap, this lake. And so Moses steps out, raises up his club, the water's part, the ball goes right through the trap onto the green about 20 feet from the cup. Next guy comes up. He's really serious about his game too. And you've probably heard of him too. His name is Jesus. Okay, so Jesus steps up to the cup, and he's really concentrating, really focused, better golfer than Moses actually. He takes a full swing, that ball's sailing out even further than Moses' ball, but it's going to land on the lake. So Jesus steps out, he raises up his hand, the ball stops in midair, about 6 inches from the surface of the lake. He just slowly and gracefully walks out on the water, taps the ball into the green about 10 feet from the cup. Next guy comes up, and he's the exact opposite of the first two. He's just laughing and having a good time. He's not focused at all, it seems. And he steps up and he just takes a wild one-handed swipe at the ball, and the ball goes sailing off. It hooks off and goes over, it bounces off the roof of this caddy shack, goes over the fence onto the freeway. It's ricocheting across between cars. It bounces off this semi. It comes back over the fence onto the roof, rolls down the gutter, down the drain pipe, onto the fairway, rolling straight for that same lake. It hits a rock, bounces up, lands on a lily pad. A frog comes up, grabs the ball in its mouth. Just then an eagle swoops down and snatches up the frog. The frog screams out of fright. The ball drops out of his mouth into the cup. Moses turns to Jesus and says, "God, I hate playing with your dad." That took 5 minutes of my talk. So thank you very much. Love you all. I've got a little bit more to go. So I tell you, in my experience, the more we are living in joy, the more we're having fun in life, the better the result. And what is required for that is non-attachment. So Thich Nhat Hanh, oh, by the way, the Buddha said non-attachment is the philosophy of my life. Entire religion, entire discipline based on non-attachment. And Thich Nhat Hanh, one of the greatest spokespersons for Buddhism, said letting go gives us freedom, and freedom is the only condition for happiness. If in our heart we still cling to anything, anger, anxiety, possessions, we cannot be free. So I was teaching a class a few years ago, and I was at just as I was teaching the class, I started reading a book called E Squared by Pam Grout. Anyone know that book? Great book, huh? And the subtitle is something like 9 energy experiments that prove our consciousness creates our reality. So the first experiment in the book is, and you can try this without even reading the book, is expect that a miracle is going to happen. Some gift is going to come to you in the next 48 hours, and it'll be so large, so grand, there'll be no question in your mind that it came as a result of your intention. And it's interesting because in, Science of Mind, Self-Help, she says put a deadline on it, and that's kind of a different take, right? Usually say it's in God's time. So it's very interesting that it just kind of shortens the distance. She says put a deadline on it, 48 hours. So I didn't quite buy into the 48 hours thing. So 72 hours later, I'm teaching a class, and it was the third week of the class, and I was doing the class on a donation basis, which I do almost all my work on a donation basis. And the first two classes were almost exactly, there were 20 people, they're almost exactly $200 in the basket at the end of the class. So I was kind of expecting that's what it's going to be throughout the class. And 72 hours after proclaiming this experiment, there was $1,500 in the basket. One check for $1,100 in some sense, actually. That person decided to tithe 10% of his income during the class. But even without that, it was still double, right? So I absolutely knew this was a result of my intention. But the reason I tell you this story is what I realized in that moment for sure is that if I had done this experiment maybe 15 years earlier, I would not have had those results because I would have been attached to the outcome. I would have thought, if this miracle doesn't show up, then it doesn't work. Or it doesn't work for me, it works for other people. Anyone felt that before? It works for other people, but not for me, or I did something wrong, or something like that. But because of my practice around non-attachment, I didn't care at all. I didn't give anything. Some almost slipped out. And so, because I was free, and I wasn't attached to the result, something really beautiful happened. This is what I find in my life over and over. I used to kind of plan out and be kind of real intentional about what I wanted to happen in my work. I want, 25 people to show up to this workshop today. That's my intention. Now my favorite affirmation is, wouldn't it be fun if? Do you feel the lightness in that? Wouldn't it be fun if? No attachment. Because if it doesn't happen, it's still going to be fun, right? So what do you think is a more productive consciousness for manifestation? Anxiety if we're attached to that, or any kind of attachment, or freedom? So I want to illustrate this. In fact, our degree of non-attachment is proportionate to our natural ability to create what we want. Does that make sense intuitively? So here's what happens when we have an attachment or a worry, which is kind of a magnified attachment. This is what we look like. So you can see each one of these squiggly lines is an attachment or a worry to a certain, something going on in the world, to finances, to relationship, to, world peace, whatever it might be, attachments. And so two things are happening here. One is, with each one of these worries or each one of these attachments, I'm actually putting energy into holding in place what I don't want. That makes sense, right? But the other thing that's happening is you can see that all of this individual's power and energy is going out to all these different worries. And so when that happens, we are left relatively powerless. So here's what it looks like when we are non-attached. Oh no, actually that's me on the boardwalk at Venice Beach. Walking around, hanging out. No, this is, well, there we go. This is what our energy field looks like when we are non-attached, right? And so when I give up attachment to what it is, when I recognize, which is an affirmation of my power, which is an affirmation that I am going to be okay no matter what happens, then I have all my power to create what I want easily, effortlessly. Yes? So, true non-attachment is realizing that fundamentally we are attached to everything in the sense that we are one. If we're attached to something outside ourselves, that is an affirmation that we are separate. We cannot be at peace. We cannot be truly free and be separate at the same time. I'm quoting me. So, when we affirm that we are whole and complete, and yet we're trying to get something outside ourselves, aren't we actually affirming that we're not whole and complete? Right? So what if we did spiritual mind treatment, not from a place of, trying to get something or trying to change something on the outside. Because I really believe, and I think this is the heart of our teaching, that the whole point of spiritual mind treatment is to simply get what we want in consciousness. We tend to, even as religious scientists, we tend to reverse the process. We tend to still fall back on thinking that, oh, I will be in joy once I get to this situation, right? Or once I manifest that what I want. But it always works the other way around, is that when I get it inside, when I am simply living from an inner experience of freedom and joy and fullness, then everything I want on the outside tends to manifest easily and effortlessly. And so, is it time for next? Yes. Oh, no, not yet. We can hold off on that one. So manifesting easily, though, is really just a byproduct of non-attachment. The most important thing is the freedom. The only way to true inner peace is to be non-attached to what's happening in the outside world. And it's really important. The most important thing, in fact, is to be non-attached to non-attachment. Right? So anytime, because pure non-attachment is an ideal. And anytime we get, we're focused on the ideal, we tend to forget to love and accept ourselves right where we were at, right? On this journey. Because wherever we are is the perfect place to be. So, in fact, loving and accepting ourselves, I find, is the most important practice that we can do. It's my baseline spiritual practice. Carl Rogers, the founder of humanistic psychology, said, the curious paradox is that when I love myself unconditionally, accept myself completely, only then can I change. Does that make sense? It's an interesting paradox. So, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the workshop today and how it relates to this, in fact. So, it's based on the book Busting Loose from the Money Game. It's not about money at all, it's about consciousness. And in it, Robert Scheinfeld says, this is my favorite quote from the book, says, when you get to the place in consciousness, when you realize that it's no better to have $1 million than it is to owe $1 million, then you will have the consciousness to create whatever you want with the snap of your fingers. Can you feel that? It's almost, counterintuitive, but can you feel the power of that? Can you feel that? Because here's what he says, and he's absolutely right. That as long as we're saying that this situation in the world of form is better than that situation in the world of form, I'm saying in a very subtle way that the world of form has power over how I feel inside. You get that? So I'm giving my power to the world of form. But as soon as I say and recognize and integrate and embody the truth that everything's perfect just the way it is, that I'm perfect just the way I am on this journey toward where I'm going, then I am saying, in a dynamic way, that I have power over the world of form. Doesn't matter what happens out there, right? Because I'm good in here. And you feel the peace that comes with that. So take a moment. I wasn't going to do this, but I'm inspired to. So close your eyes and think about anything in your life that you might have an attachment to. You might have some negative energy going to, maybe a worry even. Maybe it has to do with health. Maybe it has to do with finance. Maybe it has to do with relationship. What would it be like? What is it like in this moment if you simply surrender the attachment? Does it mean you can't still focus on what you want? Wouldn't it be fun if? But if you give away the heaviness and any tension there is, Take a deep breath in. Just recognize that whatever is happening must be for me because it is happening. Just notice what that feels like. You're ready, you can open your eyes. Whatever's happening is happening for me. Another thing that Robert Scheinfeld says is, we're creating our reality. This is profound, I think. I haven't seen this written or said anywhere else. We're creating our reality not from the presence of our personal self. We're creating our reality from the presence of our expanded self, is the term he uses, our soul self. And therefore, everything that we are manifesting, we're manifesting for us. And if I don't see that, it's only because I'm looking at it through the eyes of my personality. If I'm resisting something, it's because I'm looking at it through a limited perspective. But if I raise my consciousness to the level of my soul, then I will see that everything is happening for me. And in retrospect, don't we always see this? Don't we look back and say, oh, now I see why that happened. Now I see how much I grew as a result from that thing that I was resisting. And yet, what do we tend to do? In the moment, we tend to resist it. What would it be like, as I say in The Magic of the Soul, what would it be like if I trust, if I recognize, if I look for the magic in every situation? And if I can't see it, I can't always see it, I trust that there is some greater good that's going to come from this. Can you see how, and I know this is an idea that is not a new idea. I know this is something, in fact, when I first went around and started lecturing about what I call radical gratitude, seeing the magic in every experience, I just saw a lot of ahas in the audience. Now I just see a lot of nodding heads because it is an idea, it's an understanding that has been integrated with the social unconscious. When I was several years ago writing The Magic of the Soul, a funny thing happened on the way to the Magic of the Soul. Everything fell apart. I became chronically ill. My marriage ended of 13 years. Couldn't find it anyway. My position at my corporate job was eliminated. So everything that I was attached to on an ego level was kind of stripped away. And what I got to, I was resisting this experience the whole time. But what I finally got to is, if I am to die from this because I was so ill, I thought it looked like that was the direction it was going. I said, if I'm to die from this experience, I'm going to use the experience of dying to understand who I am as a sacred being at the deepest level possible. And guess what happened? That's when I started to heal. So, the workshop, I'm going to give you one more quote from the book, Blessing is for Learning. So Robert Scheinfeld says this, and I'm going to paraphrase and exaggerate maybe even a little bit more. Who you really are, and this comes when we're in this place of non-attachment, recognizing that it's no better to have this than that I am perfect just the way I am. What we then get to realize is that who you really are is an infinite, omnipotent being. That no concept of power that you've ever entertained comes even close to how powerful you are. That if you took all the power that's available to mankind, everything that we've created, electricity, iPhones, nuclear power plants, nuclear bombs, rocket ships, air jets, gathered that together, combined it with the power of Mother Earth herself, the hurricanes, the volcanoes, the earthquakes, gathered all that together, magnified it 1 billion times, that would be a speck compared to the power available to you right here and right now, sitting in this room. And what's so amazing about that applause is that it's completely irrational if you look at it from a rational perspective. And yet we all agree. Why? because we resonate with truth. Even though that sounds outlandish, it is the truth. That's how powerful we are. And again, you know, where we are on the journey to realizing the fullness of that is the perfect place to be. So, would love it if you come to the workshop, because when I was meditating earlier today, I was thinking about, you know, what's the intention for the workshop? What's the quality that wants to be here? What I remember from these workshops is we get into this place where we're outside, as we just did when that applause happened, where we get outside of the rational mind that limits us and into the mystery. That's what happens in this workshop. So I love it. My wish would be that every one of you could come to it. We're going to have a great time. So if you don't have plans, please come. You'll be glad you did. If you do have plans, change them. If you absolutely can't change them, then sign up on my mailing list outside, and next time I'm here, you'll get a message, or in the area, you'll get a message letting you know. Okay, so one more quick little story. Anyone see my favorite or the best exotic Marigold Hotel, I think it's called? Wasn't that a fun movie? The first one. The second one is a bomb. The first one was great. And so the character in that who was marketing this hotel in India to retirees in Great Britain. And, you know, they got this beautiful brochure, and they get there, and they say, you photoshopped the brochure. This place is dilapidated. It's nothing like it. And they're complaining the whole time. And his famous phrase was, if everything... Wait, I gotta get this right. If everything works out in the end. And if it's not all right, it's not yet the end. And so the Buddha said, when we finally realize that everything is perfect just the way it is, do this with me. We'll tilt our head back and laugh at the sky. Feel the freedom in that? And I thought there was one more slide there. Nope? Okay. So I want to close with the idea, coming back to self-love, and Felly did such a beautiful meditation this morning. I want to see more people next time in the meditation, because the meditations here are just amazing. And it was all focused on the truth that we are pure love. That's who we really are. And a phrase came to me when I was talking to a client recently about self-love, and it came to me like this. When I love myself unconditionally, what I realize is that I'm not myself. I am, in fact, the self. I am, in fact, pure love. You are pure love.